Hi, you're on the Retelling Films channel, and this is a retelling of the movie Civil War. A group of journalists embark on an 857-mile journey across a country torn by civil war. They want to interview the president before he is executed by rebels. The action of the movie begins in the not-too-distant future with the President of the United States of America addressing the nation. The president claims that the Civil War started by those dissatisfied with his rule in California and Texas is almost over, and the rebels have been defeated. Photojournalist Lee watches the performance from his hotel room. Outside the windows stretches the night New York, where explosions are visible in the streets. In the daytime, Lee goes to a relief station where the number of people in need and the number of police officers is almost as large as the number of journalists recording the events. When she meets her colleagues, the woman tries on a brightly coloured vest with the word press on it and goes about her direct duties, taking pictures. Lee sees Jessie, a young colleague, almost get hurt in a scuffle and takes her away from the crowd to share the vest, so that she will be a little different from the rest of the crowd. A woman notices a suicide bomber running into the crowd and drags Jessie to the ground before the explosion goes off. Immediately afterward, Lee grabs a camera, taking the first pictures of the victims. As she walks away, Jessie turns around and takes a photo of her idol at work. Later, Lee meets with fellow journalists, Joel and Sammy, at the hotel. Sammy is sure that after the fall of Washington, the states divided by civil war will attack each other. Learning that Lee and Joel are planning a trip to Washington to interview the president before he is killed by separatists, Sammy heads out with them. Going to bed, the woman meets Jessie, who thanks her for her help and vest. Lying in the bathtub, she recalls the many instances of human cruelty she has witnessed impartially over the years. The morning paints the deserted streets with gentle light, as well as the optics of the snipers on the rooftops. On the way down, Lee sees the girl from yesterday in the car, and she doesn't like it very much. However, Joel has already agreed to take her with him to share professional experience in practice. It's 857 miles to their final destination through a civil war-ridden country, and their journey begins. The journalists drive onto a highway littered with abandoned cars, between which they have to maneuver carefully. On the way, they pass a military checkpoint and see refugees traveling in the opposite direction. Noticing a gas station, Lee offers to fill up, even though there are armed civilians on duty there. The militiamen sell gasoline without coupons, but at a much higher price. Taking advantage of the moment, Jessie gets out to stretch her legs and walks to the car wash. She is followed by a young guy with an assault rifle, and then by Lee. They see bodies hanging in the middle of the car wash. The young guy with the assault rifle proudly says that they are looters. He admits that he went to the same school with the captives and suggests Jessie to shoot one of them right in front of her. To defuse the situation, Lee offers to take a photo. The young guy's ego takes over and he poses between the victims. Later in the car, Jessie confesses that she was confused in a serious situation, not thinking to take a picture of anything. Lee advises not to take the victims' suffering to heart, whatever happens to them. They have no control over it. From the stress of the experience, Jessie begins to cry, but quickly pulls herself together. As they drive through a parking lot full of destroyed military jeeps, Lee asks Joel to slow down. She calls the girl over to the downed helicopter to take some pictures and take her mind off the previous incident. Camped 508 miles outside of Washington, D.C., journalists enjoy the sounds of gunfire in the night and tracer tracks in the night sky. Lee complains to her mentor that she is discouraged by the fact that the war has happened in her homeland. Joel pours alcohol on the sadness and fear of the firefight they will witness tomorrow. The next day, journalists reach the scene of the fighting. Armed men in civilian clothes are exchanging fire with people in military uniform. Journalists, having made their way to the former, document what is happening. When one fighter is pinned down by fire, the squad throws smoke bombs and covers him, but running over to his own, he is hit by several bullets. He is dragged around the corner unconscious. Lee is nearby, emotionlessly recording what is happening on the camera, as well as Jessie. The squad makes its way inside the building, slowly clearing it of defenders. The gunmen cautiously sneak through the corridors, climbing the stairs, trying to find the military. They find a wounded soldier. The civilians finish him off without bothering with medical attention and move on, allowing the journalist to film in a safe area. Jessie cautiously approaches the dead man with her camera. After the battle, Joel happily chats with the civilian commander while the others take the uniformed opponents outside, line them up and shoot them with a large caliber machine gun to the delight of Jesse's lens, and Lee only lazily glances around while continuing to smoke. When it is 289 miles to Washington, the reporters arrive at the refugee camp located in the stadium. Lee brings Jesse lunch. Sitting on a bench, she develops film in a camping laboratory. The woman shares her own professional experience. Before they look at the first pictures, the girl freezes on a shot of a dying, wounded man, which her colleague praises. After waiting out the night in the camp, the journalists continue their journey through towns that bear the imprint of the Civil War in the form of fires, deserted streets, and burned-out cars. Jesse is in the process, photographing colleagues and their emotional faces, over the years tired of expressing sympathy. The next stop is a small town seemingly untouched by what is happening across the country. The travelers stop into a clothing store where Joel asks the clerk if they are aware of the Civil War. She replies that their town has refrained from taking sides. Seizing the opportunity, Lee tries on a dress. Jesse takes a photo as a souvenir, having previously made her laugh. Out for a smoke, Sammy and the woman notice the snipers on duty on the roof, iron-handed and with a keen eye maintaining the mandatory neutrality on the street. It's 176 miles to Washington, D.C., when the reporters stumble upon an unfinished New Year's Eve fair and a dead body lying in the road. They stop in confusion, wondering if it's safe to keep driving. Sammy suggests they go back and take a detour on another road. While Lee looks through the zoom of a camera at a mansion nearby, Joel slowly drives closer. An unseen sniper from inside the house opens fire on them. Noticing the sniper pair in ambush, the reporters move closer to them, provoking the enemy gunmen to open fire. From the conversation with the military, it turns out that they are not aware of who exactly they are dueling with and whose side they are on in general. Someone is trying to kill them, and they are trying to kill back. While Joel is talking and Jesse is taking pictures, Lee is on the ground admiring the flowers. Soon, the sniper pulls the trigger, a shot rings out, and the reporters continue their journey. While driving while Joel and Jesse are sleeping, Lee notices a car maneuvering down the highway behind them. Sammy advises them to slow down, letting it pass without looking at the driver. The pursuers, however, pull up alongside them, honking their horns to attract attention. Joel, awakened by the sounds, recognizes the passenger as a Chinese colleague from Hong Kong named Tony. He and his partner are also on their way to Washington to shoot reports. Joel blabbed to him before they left. Excited to meet him, Tony climbs right into their car. An enthusiastic Jesse also switches seats, whereupon Tony's driver presses the gas pedal, quickly fleeing. The reporters follow, concerned that Jesse is missing with some strange Asian man. Tony assures them that everything will be fine, but Lee yells at him. Because of this, they nearly crash into an oncoming truck while pulling out to the side of the road. The reporters find the car near a farm, doors open, but no one inside. Lee turns off onto the road, where the colleagues have presumably gone. The reporters find the driver and Jesse surrounded by armed men in military uniforms. To make matters worse, they are busy dumping a pile of bodies directly from the back of a dump truck into one large grave, covering the bodies with lime. Joel is sure that nothing will happen. The guys are obviously Western military and therefore respect the press badges. Sammy objects that they will be killed as unnecessary witnesses. Leaving Sammy behind, the journalists go to the military. Joel introduces himself to the chief as a journalist and says that the prisoners are his colleagues with whom they are traveling to report on the opening of a university campus in a neighboring town. In response, the soldier shoots Tony's partner, killing him on the spot. The conversation immediately ceases to be casual, and Tony feels leaden clouds gathering overhead. Joel says they are Americans, and the soldier wonders which side they support in the current war. After learning that Joel is from Florida, the soldier turns to Jesse to clarify that she is from Missouri. Next in line is Lee, who was born in Colorado. When Tony is revealed to be from Hong Kong, the soldier reacts by shooting him in the chest. Joel asks for the shooting to stop, which only encourages the ultranationalists. They threaten with guns, preparing to shoot the journalists. But at that moment, Sammy appears at the wheel of a car, with which he runs the soldiers straight into the grave with the corpses. Jesse is also forced to jump there, dodging the impact of the bumper. Among the dead bodies, the girl climbs to the top, where she is helped by Joel. The third ultranationalist, who has gone to the bathroom, grabs an automatic rifle and opens fire on them. Once on the highway, Joel sobs from the stress she has been through and Jesse begins to feel nauseous. Sammy tells them to stop. He is hurt and can no longer drive. After sitting the old man back down, Joel jumps behind the wheel and puts the pedal to the gas. They rush forward through a forest embraced by fire, an allegory for the people's unrest. Early in the morning, they reach the military base in Charlottesville, where the Western Coalition forces have concentrated. While Jesse looks sadly at the deceased Sammy, Joel screams and shouts, venting accumulated fear, pain, and rage. As her colleague's body is loaded into a zinc coffin, Lee deletes his posthumous photo from her camera, not wanting it to become another impartial illustration of the war. Then, she finds Joel. He learns from his colleagues that Western forces are already storming Washington. It will not be possible to interview the president before the end of the war. The next morning, while Lee washes the interior of the car from blood, the columns move on Washington. Realizing that since they have arrived, it would be foolish to miss such a historic event, journalists follow to document the final assault. In the city, fierce clashes are taking place, with historic monuments and the defenders holed up in them being fired upon. Excited by the chance to become a classic of photojournalism, Jesse almost under bullets for the sake of good shots, but the tired Lee is suddenly imbued with violence and does not shoot anything, sitting dejectedly behind the armor. She sees soldiers launching rockets at the Lincoln Memorial, helicopters hovering in the streets, shelling the defenders' positions, tanks overcoming the barricades. Photographers advance with the assault force, and mortars take up positions on the roof to shell positions near the White House, where the president is. The main forces are pulled in for the decisive strike. The defenders hit one jeep in front of journalists, where Jesse takes pictures of the burning crew. Tanks arrive and help destroy the firing point. Joel leads Lee, following the stormtroopers. The vehicles break through the gate and enter the White House, from which, at the same time, the Secret Service is taking the president out to put him in an armored motorcade. 3 cars tear through the troops, crashing into the guardrails. A limousine rams a jeep. Watching the vehicle being shot at with machine guns, suddenly coming to her senses, Lee realizes that the head of state is not inside the limousine. She calls her colleagues to follow her to the White House. As the soldiers shoot the passengers, one platoon commander sees this and follows them. The journalists enter an empty White House in which the attackers have abruptly lost interest. The military men who enter after them tell them to stay out of the way and go in search of the president. Photographers follow, taking pictures along the way. In the press conference room, the secretary offers to discuss the terms of surrendering the president in exchange for security guarantees, but the separatists simply shoot her and move on. A firefight with the Secret Service begins in the corridors. Progress is slowed down by the need to eliminate the guards, but the soldiers slowly but surely move forward, clearing room after room. Jesse, who has gotten into the excitement, stands behind the soldiers, grabbing the most spectacular shots and not thinking about the risk at all. Even Lee stays behind the soldiers, keeping a low profile. At one point, the girl runs out into the hallway in time to snap a photo. Before the soldiers kill the guards, Lee pops out following Jesse and pushes her to the floor. A slumped Jesse takes a series of photos as a bullet pierces a co-worker, and she falls dead beside her. Joel calls the girl after her, eager for the greatest reportage of their lives. The separatists have already dragged the terrified president by his feet from under the table. When Joel appears, he tells the soldiers to slow down and asks the president to say one last thing. He asks them not to kill him. When Joel gets what he wants, the soldiers shoot the president. Jesse captures this moment with a series of shots, and the movie, like the life of a head of state, ends. What do you think about this movie? Write your thoughts about the movie in the comments. If you liked my short retelling, then put likes and subscribe to not miss new videos. See you soon.